You wake up this morning, check the date on your calendar, drive to work on a paved road, arrive at a concrete building, wash your hands with running water, and flip through a book during lunch. Every single one of these actions, mundane, forgettable, part of the background noise of modern existence, connects you directly to an empire that collapsed over 15 centuries ago. We live in the shadow of Rome, not the Rome of Hollywood epics with gladiators and emperors dramatically delivering speeches, the real Rome, the Rome of engineers and problem-solvers who looked at the challenges of organizing a vast civilization and created solutions so elegant, so fundamentally sound, that we're still using them today. Most of us have no idea. This is the strange paradox of innovation. The most successful inventions become invisible. They work so well for so long that we forget they were ever invented at all. We assume they've always existed, that they emerged naturally from the fabric of civilization itself. But someone had to think of them first. Someone had to solve the problem, test the solution, refine the process, and scale it across an empire. The Romans were masters of this pragmatic genius. While we often dismiss ancient civilizations as primitive or simplistic, the Romans were engineering solutions to problems that many societies wouldn't successfully address for another 1,000 years. They built infrastructure that outlasted their empire. They created systems of organization that became the template for Western civilization. And they did it with technology that would seem laughably simple by today's standards. No computers, no advanced mathematics, no electrical power. Just observation, experimentation, and relentless practical intelligence. Let's start with the literal foundation of modern infrastructure concrete. When you see a bridge spanning a river, a dam holding back millions of gallons of water, or a skyscraper reaching toward the clouds, you're looking at concrete. It's the most widely used construction material on Earth, essential to virtually every structure we build. We think of it as modern, industrial, a product of the technological age. The Romans invented it 2,000 years ago. Their concrete wasn't quite identical to ours. They used volcanic ash called pozzolana as a key ingredient, but in some ways it was superior. Roman concrete structures have survived earthquakes, floods, and the corrosive effects of seawater for millennia. The Pantheon in Rome, built in 126 AD, still has the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. It's been standing for nearly 2,000 years, and engineers today study it with awe, trying to understand how Roman builders created something so durable without modern reinforcement techniques. The secret lay in their mixture and their methods. Roman engineers understood chemistry without knowing the science behind it. They knew that certain volcanic materials, when mixed with lime and water, created a substance that hardened even underwater and grew stronger with age. Modern scientists analyzing ancient Roman concrete have discovered that seawater actually triggers a chemical reaction that strengthens the material over time, the opposite of what happens to modern concrete exposed to salt water. We've spent decades trying to rediscover what they knew instinctively. But concrete was just the beginning. Consider water, specifically how it gets from distant sources into your home, clean and reliable, every single day. This miracle of modern life has Roman fingerprints all over it. The aqueducts of Rome weren't just impressive architectural achievements, they were sophisticated public health systems that transformed urban life. At its peak, Rome's 11 major aqueducts delivered about 300 gallons of water per person per day to the city, more than many modern cities provide. These weren't simple channels. They were precisely engineered systems that used gravity to maintain consistent water flow across dozens of miles, through tunnels, over valleys, on spectacular arched bridges, and into distribution networks that served public baths, fountains, and private homes. The Romans understood water pressure, filtration, and flow dynamics. They built settling tanks to remove sediment, used lead and ceramic pipes for distribution, and created a maintenance system that kept the water flowing for centuries. This wasn't just about convenience. Access to clean water transformed public health, reduced disease, and made dense urban living possible for the first time in human history. The fall of Rome and the decay of its aqueducts led to a dramatic decline in urban sanitation across Europe, a regression that wasn't fully reversed until the 19th century. For more than 1,000 years, European cities were dirtier, more disease-ridden, and less livable than Rome had been in the 2nd century AD. Then there are the roads. You've heard the phrase, "all roads lead to Rome," but you probably don't realize just how literal and impressive that statement is. The Romans built over 250,000 miles of roads across their empire, with about 50,000 miles being stone-paved highways. These weren't dirt paths, they were engineered transportation networks built in layers with drainage systems, cambered surfaces for water runoff, and standardized construction techniques that ensured consistency across thousands of miles. Roman roads were so well built that many are still in use today, either as the foundation for modern highways or as walking paths that have survived 2 millennia of traffic. The Via Appia, built starting in 312 BC, is still partially navigable. Think about that. A road built over 2,300 years ago that you can still walk on. These roads weren't just about military conquest, though that was certainly part of their purpose. They were economic arteries that enabled trade, communication, and cultural exchange on a scale never before achieved. The Roman road network was, in a way, the internet of the ancient world, a system that connected distant regions, facilitated the rapid movement of information and goods, and created a truly integrated economy. The modern highway system, international trade routes, and global logistics networks are all descendants of this Roman innovation. But Roman influence extends beyond physical infrastructure into the very structure of our society. When you stand in a courtroom and hear innocent until proven guilty, you're hearing an echo of Roman law. The concept of a legal code, written, public, applicable to all citizens, was revolutionary when the Romans systematized it. Before Rome, law was often customary, unwritten, and administered arbitrarily by rulers. The Romans created the idea that law should be rational, consistent, and accessible. The 12 Tables, Rome's first written legal code from 450 BC, established principles that still underpin Western legal systems: the right to a legal defense, the presumption of innocence, the importance of evidence and witnesses. Later, Roman legal scholarship, compiled in the Corpus Juris Civilis under Emperor Justinian, became the foundation for civil law systems used across Europe and Latin America today. When modern lawyers argue about contracts, property rights, or legal precedent, they're operating within a framework the Romans built. Even the way you measure time comes from Rome. The calendar on your phone is a direct descendant of the Julian calendar, introduced by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. Before this reform, the Roman calendar was honestly a chaotic mess, falling out of sync with the seasons because of irregular intercalation. Caesar consulted with Egyptian astronomers and created a solar calendar of 365 days, with a leap year every 4 years, a system so accurate that it only needed minor adjustment 16 centuries later when Pope Gregory XIII created the Gregorian calendar we use today. Look at the names of our months. July is named for Julius Caesar, August for Augustus Caesar. September, October, November, and December literally mean 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th month in Latin, which they were in the original Roman calendar before January and February were added to the beginning. Every time you schedule an appointment or check the date, you're using a Roman system of organizing time. Even leisure and entertainment bear Roman DNA. The modern sports stadium, with its tiered seating, optimal sight lines and crowd management systems, directly descends from Roman amphitheatres. The Colosseum, built between 70 and 80 AD, could seat 50,000 spectators and featured a retractable awning system, underground staging areas, and sophisticated crowd flow engineering. Architects still study its design when building modern arenas. In quieter corners of daily life, Roman innovation persists. The bound book, codex as the Romans called it, replaced the scroll as the dominant form of information storage because it was more practical, more portable, and allowed for easy reference. Early Christians adopted the codex format for their scriptures, and it eventually became universal. The book you hold, the document you read, exists in this form because Romans decided it was a better solution than unrolling yards of papyrus. So, Roman medical instruments, which have been preserved in archaeological sites like Pompeii, actually reveal surgical tools, scalpels, forceps, speculums, that look, well, remarkably similar to instruments still used today. Roman physicians performed cataract surgery, caesarean sections, and even some pretty complex bone-setting procedures. Their understanding of anatomy, though not quite complete, was still sophisticated enough to influence medical practice for well over 1,000 years. Even central heating has Roman origins. The hypocaust system, used in Roman baths and wealthy homes, circulated hot air beneath floors and through wall cavities, an ancient version of radiant heating. The principle is identical to modern underfloor heating systems. Warm the floors, and the heat radiates upward, creating comfortable, even warmth throughout a space. What's remarkable isn't just that the Romans invented these things, it's that they did so with a pragmatic, problem-solving mindset that valued function over theory. Roman engineering wasn't about abstract mathematics or scientific inquiry for its own sake. It was about identifying problems and building solutions that worked at scale. They were masters of practical innovation, and that's why their solutions endured. We live in an age that prides itself on innovation, on disrupting the old ways and creating the new. And yet, when you strip away the electronics and the advanced materials, many of our fundamental systems, how we move, how we build, how we organize society, still rest on Roman foundations. The next time you turn on a tap, drive down a highway, or open a book, pause for a moment. You're participating in a continuum of human ingenuity that stretches back over 2,000 years. The Romans fell, but their innovations never did. They're still here, quietly shaping December 2025, so deeply embedded in our lives that we've forgotten they were ever invented at all. That's not just history, that's legacy. Subscribe to Through Time and discover more forgotten innovations that built the modern world. Share this story and help others see the ancient genius hiding in plain sight.